to the Unleash Success Podcast, where we break down the secrets of success to give you real tools and strategies that get real results. And now, here's your host, Corey Corpodian.
Welcome back to the Unleash Success Show. This is Corey Corpodian. Guys, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, go do it now. That way you'll be sure to get every single interview we do each and every week with real tools, real strategies that, get real results, because that's what we're all about in Unleash Success. So today, I'm super pumped because we are here with a good friend of mine. Brooke, I actually met several years ago when I first moved back to California because she is one of the co-founders, along with her now husband, of an incredible organization called Beach City Sports. It is a social sports organization based out of Orange County, California, that offers recreational sports and social events to literally over 6,000 players every year. Originally, Brooke is from Albuquerque, New Mexico, where she hustled to graduate with her bachelor's degree by the age of 20, guys, and then moved to California to pursue her dream life near the palm trees and the beaches. Unsatisfied, though, with the stress and grind of a seemingly successful career, she side hustled to support her then boyfriend, now husband, in his vision of creating this adult beach flag football league in Huntington Beach. This continued for almost 3 years before she finally took the leap, mentally and financially, to dedicate herself full time. Fast forward to today, Brooke and her husband Sam operate the largest co-ed beach flag football league in the world, offering 5 sports in 3 cities and growing as a modern alternative way to meet people and stay active in our increasingly tech world. Brooke, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thank you. Well, and to summarize what you said, who we are today is we operate an adult sports league. So we allow adults 20 and over to come. Most of our events are out at the beach. Play an hour-long sport, whatever your sport is, make new friends, meet new people. I just think we live in this day and age where we're all on our phones all the time. And I know you and I look into that as marketers, but sports is just such a cool way where we actually put our phones down and hang out with each other. And what I love about what we do is just getting to see the friendships that are naturally built by it, like ours. That's how I made all of my friends when I moved here from being a little Albuquerque girl. And football's just fucking awesome.
Absolutely. You know, Brooke, I've told you this before, but not a lot of my friends, nowadays maybe know, just because it kind of gets lost in the history of it all.
Yeah.
But when I first moved to California in 2013, I moved back to California. I really didn't have a whole lot of friends. I'd been in New York for 7 years, and my dad was running by the beach and saw a flag football league. And then I looked up on the internet and found you guys. And you guys were literally the network for all the people that I met in my first 6 months here. And that's how we met. That's how I made a lot of really lifelong relationships. And it was on the sand. And the fact that it was co-ed, it was all about having fun, but still being active. I loved it and really enjoyed it, and still enjoy it to this day. Anytime I can go sub for a team, it's been a lot of fun. And, if I've never said it formally, thank you very much for creating this environment for people like me and, young adults to get out of their comfort zone, to meet some amazing people, because it changed my life and all the friends that I have.
That's so cool. Well, we had, maybe 1,400 players this past season, summer season. We're just wrapping up. And it's funny, our mission statement says we want to be the gateway to social life in Orange County. It really doesn't say anything about sports. I'm not even sure the word sports is in our mission statement, but I love those are the stories that just make me so happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I know that you guys started with a dream, and you were working kind of like an 8 to 5 type of job. And then all of a sudden you made that leap. A lot of younger men and women are, struggling to take that jump. How did you do it? And, what did you believe that finally made you get to that point where you're like, I'm going to actually do this?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I've always I guess set goals, but I didn't see what it is today then. Like, I don't think you don't see the end when you start. I know when I was younger, just getting started on this path of just becoming a better person and always interested in investing in yourself. I know I read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So I know that concept is in there, start with the end in mind, but you don't always see the end. Sometimes you just have to start. For me, Sam is now my husband, then boyfriend, really was the driving force that he moved to California from Chicago to own his own business. He had lots of failures leading up to it. And so when we just celebrated this occasion like a week or 2 ago. I was at my roommate's house. I just remember him coming over and just being like, fuck it, we're starting our own league.
But how'd you say, you know what, I'm going to quit my job and jump into this? I mean, did you guys start the business while you were still working or?
Yeah, so he did it full time since day one. I was working as the director of sales for a snack company. I had the bonus of the universe kind of kicking me in the ass and saying it's time to do it full time because I was let go of that job. And, I actually look back and take responsibility for it. I went back with my CEO, I don't know, a few years ago and had to apologize and say, hey, I was working on my own thing on your dime, like using your guys' office supplies, you know what I mean? Like I was side hustling. And at the time I was totally justified in my head.
You do what you got to do, right?
Yeah. So, I don't know what the point of telling you that was, but there was a time where it was just like, okay, kick it out. You're going to do this full time.
At what point would you say that you started seeing the growth? Because I know, I think you started with 6 or 8 teams or was it?
Yeah. It's funny. You don't always see the growth when you're in it. I tend to be my harshest critic. And actually right now I'm still working on just this thought a couple weeks ago that my trainer told me. She said, well, when you're focusing on your failures, you tend to not see your successes, which came up in an area of just my fitness journey, but it's the exact same in business. I mean, I've journaled along the way and kind of put our benchmarks in, but really the last year or 2, we've seen huge growth. But it's just, I don't know, you just learn to love the climb.
Right. I mean, life's a journey. And I know when I first joined the Huntington Beach League that you guys had, and I think you had just opened the Newport Beach League.
Sounds about right.
And, but now you go there and it went from 6 to 20 teams, the Huntington Beach League. You guys, if you ever are going down PCH on a Saturday or Sunday, anytime other than summer, because I know in summer you guys do it during the week, but during the fall, winter, spring, it is packed with multiple leagues down 14th and 11th Street. You guys got multiple leagues and multiple fields. I mean, so that growth was just exponential. What do you guys think you did that really separated you from other sports organizations? Because there are others. Yeah. How did you start to grow so much? What brought everybody to you?
Great question. A couple of things, I guess things that are applicable that I've done are, really just being super passionate. I'm grateful that it's really easy to be passionate about playing football because it's so fun. I used to network all the time. I had a couple of good girlfriends who lived here. Sarah Barr lived here the first year of BCS, and that girl would do absolutely anything with me. I could just call her and be like, hey, we're sponsoring this party, probably more like a rave. Like we're sponsoring this party. We're just going to set up a table. We're going to wear costumes. You're coming with me. And then we would just go and just recruit all night. And then a year later, my best friend Tiffany moved here, and she's.
So it sounds like you built I
had some wing women.
Yeah.
So I guess I just surrounded myself with good people.
Yeah, definitely, and that's important. I think a lot of times, I know I've gotten that mentality, and it sucks, but you cannot do everything on your own. They've got the solopreneur, right? That's the idea of doing everything all by yourself. But the truth is, without certain people supporting me, helping me throughout my business ventures and experience in life, I wouldn't be here either. So it goes to show how strong having a good core group of people around you is to building anything successful. Yeah,
I'm really grateful. And I think part of that comes with not being afraid to cut people out. I know that in certain contexts that can sound really bad, but even more recently, I'm just realizing that even whether I'm not necessarily talking about my life, I could be talking about anybody's life, but even family members, for example, just because I heard myself giving this advice to someone and I was like, I really need to take that and look at myself. Just because somebody is related to you does not give them a right to negatively impact your life. And that goes with family, friends, coworkers, bosses. So not being afraid to say goodbye, let go of somebody, and just to we get to choose who we fill our time with. And it really does make an impact on your own energy and who you turn out to be when you're spending a lot of time with certain people.
Yeah, I'm reminded of just that you are the 5 people you spend the most time with. Famous quote, and it's just so true. And if somebody's not empowering you or helping you in your life, it's tough to say to kick them out, especially if they're family. You got to love your family, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to spend all your time with them. And you want to surround yourself with people that are going to, take you to where you want in life. And I agree with that, but it's tough to say no. Have you ever had to say no to anybody, or you're working through it right now?
Oh, no is probably one of the best words created. People really need to use it more often.
So
they're real.
What would you say is a good resource, something that maybe somebody else could pick up, like a book or something that you've used along your journey that maybe had just this eye-opening experience for you?
So everyone's at a different stage, but a couple of things that stand out to me that were really awesome resources. I mentioned the book 7 Habits. Yeah. I remember that one making a difference. 4-Hour Work Week made a really big difference. I think I read it 3 times with a couple years in between each one, and each time it spoke to something that I needed to shift in my time management. Obviously building a company and I don't admit it, but really being like 95% of online presence of BCS online is Brooke. You just have to learn how to manage your time on a computer. You could be there all day. This year, I really loved the book, The One Thing. Was very good.
I read that this year too. Fantastic.
It was good. This year, I'm obsessed with Gary Vee. He's the only podcast that I consume. What else? Toastmasters was good for me at a time. I needed to be better at having a voice and being comfortable in public speaking. I find it when you kind of find areas in your life that you're resisting or super uncomfortable with, those are good ones to go to. And again, asterisk on that because I don't know what people are dealing with. But an example is this year I committed at the beginning of the year to go on Facebook Live once a week because I was super uncomfortable. Like after my first one, I was like not panicking, but just like super uncomfortable. And you doubt yourself, whatever, you're just uncomfortable. So I made myself do that for several months.
You just did that before we started this interview here. I was a little uncomfortable, but you rocked it. So I see the development because you committed to doing that. And
oh, cool.
I was a little uncomfortable because I don't do Facebook Live a lot.
Yeah.
And I should rephrase. I've never done Facebook Live up to this point.
Really?
That would be my first time ever being on Facebook Live. Oh, what an exciting day.
Well, the best thing to do when you find areas you're uncomfortable with is just to do it.
Oh, well, I guess I'm learning something today as well.
You want to go on Facebook Live?
Sure, we can. We'll do one right after this. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah,
I like
sounds good.
Making you uncomfortable.
I think I'm getting red here. It might be.
Well, you're getting outside even just having a podcast and committing to posting it once a week or whatever your commitment is, that's like we said, you don't have to see the end or have this huge vision goal. Sometimes you do, but sometimes you just got to start.
That's an interesting thing, the correlation you made to the podcast, because I do have goals for the podcast. It's just, part of the podcast though, is that this is really a passion for me.
Yeah.
And I want people to be able to learn from amazing people like yourself and then figure out how that can help them in their life and their strategies and the tools, and then take some actions on it. So I guess my main goal is probably that even if I help one person, that means I've accomplished my goal.
Yeah.
So sometimes my goals are a little bit, less. I do have big goals as well, but the main one is just to help people. And even if it's one person. So
yeah.
And also to learn. I'm learning from you right now.
Well, I appreciated being asked because I tend to see my vision of what I want Beach City family life to be, Beach City sports to be, Beach City social to be, Beach City networking. Like I have this big picture for it. And so a lot of times I see like, oh, I'm not there yet. So it was an honor to be acknowledged and asked to be on this show because it made me, I just feel like I'm just somebody who's hustling and figuring it out as I go.
Yeah, we were talking about how you want to document, not create, something Gary Vee talks about a lot.
Right.
And I've been trying to do that as well. I've been doing it more, I should say.
Yeah, with your workout posts. And,
yeah, exactly.
And like you said, that's something you're doing anyways. I mean, when I started doing a Facebook post every time I was at the gym, I'd already been going there for 6 months. So you don't see that. But it was just a commitment that I made with the gym and then kept doing.
I like that you made that commitment and kind of made it a habit for yourself to check in. And you mentioned that somebody had contacted you, right? So have you seen people reach out?
Yeah. Well, and to me, it's kind of weird because I'll be at an event. And I mean, weekends, I probably have conversations, one-on-one conversations with people that I'm on a first or first last name basis with, at least 1,000, like every weekend. Like it's a lot. And so I'll have people who I don't know very well who will say like, oh, I saw your posts and thank you. That helps me like get out of bed and run, or think, oh, Brooke's like been up for an hour and I just woke up. I'm going to do X today. So even if I just hear one or two of those, it just gave me, it's just a good reminder. We don't just influence ourselves. We influence other people.
I like it. And it's funny because similar situation is that I post, and I've been going to the gym for my whole life, like since I was 12 years old.
Clearly.
Thank you. And people will send me, private messages or leave some comments and ask for advice or this or that. Like, oh, I saw that. And it really does help people stay a little bit more motivated, inspired. So, that's a super simple habit to get into. One that I am not sure if I want to admit to or say this right now, but I'm going to. I think we're going to do a Facebook Live call once every week, or Facebook Live post once a week, to see how well this goes. So, Brooke,
no, it's good. And right. And you just have to know your reasons for going into it. Like you said, inspiring even just one person, making a difference in that one person. Because there comes a day when you make commitments and you're just like, why the hell did I commit to doing this? And you don't want to. And it's good to come back to that and just be like, oh yeah, that's why I was inspired when I made this commitment. And if I could pass on something I wish I had done, is put an end date to your commitment. Because I started I don't know if I started necessarily in January. Whenever I started, I didn't say an end date in my first Facebook Live, and I wish that I had, because I did it for 3 or 4 months, and then I ended it thinking like I did more time than I'd committed to, like in my brain, but I've always felt like I owe a justification for like why I'm not doing it anymore. When instead I had moved on to YouTube and to other things. So put an end date.
I think 2 months is going to be my end date.
Sweet. Well, I will comment on at least half of them.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. I already have one view.
One view, yes. One thing that we were talking about earlier is you had asked for specific things that made a difference along my path. Can I finish that?
Absolutely.
So we mentioned Toastmasters for public speaking. Another resource that was great is called SCORE, and it's part of the Small Business Administration. And they have classes and other resources, which were good. But what was most valuable to me is you can get one-on-one business coaching with a list of their mentors. Most of them are men and women who had successful careers. Some of them are really impressive and are retired now or just looking to give back.
Is that free?
It's free.
Wow.
Free 1 hour mentorship. Yep.
Is there
you just go to SCORE, SCORE. I think the Orange County chapter might be 411.org, but just Google it. And yeah, you just go on there, you see the list of mentors, you set an appointment with one of them.
Wow, that's an excellent resource. I'm glad you mentioned that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good one. And what else? Landmark Education was a good one for me. Gave me tools to become, I think, more self-aware, have a different view on integrity, which really gives you a lot of power in life, a good coaching, practicing on taking responsibility for things in my life. And so that was a good resource.
I remember when you were in Landmark too, you started a few projects.
Yeah.
And how did Landmark, or what exactly did they teach you that helped you kind of get through those projects? And you were doing a lot of different things and really leveraging your time very well. I was pretty impressed by it. So I just wondered if you'd share that.
Yeah. So I did something through Landmark called Self-Expression and Leadership Program. And the purpose of I'm going to guess it was 10 weeks, I don't really remember, is to take on a project that you can then give to the world, and it can continue to exist without your involvement, like necessarily. So you just kind of pick a passion project, and you get real life practice on making requests from other people, and
How was that?
Learning to make a difference in like what you're passionate about. It was good. So I made my passion project Beach City Networking, and just realizing how big of a difference networking and surrounding myself with good people made in my life, and which I still 100% believe in. I had an amazing team of women who came around me and supported me, and we went through a year. I don't remember the stats, but we went through a year. I would say we had at least 7 or 8 networking events. We raised money for certain charities. It was really good practice, just I guess in leadership and communication skills. I want to beat myself up that it doesn't continue to really exist today.
But like you said, you're kind of doing some other projects too, with the new YouTube channel that you guys have launched right now.
Yeah.
And so still kind of helping different things. Sometimes I believe that when you set a goal, you want to set a goal, but you got to be flexible in your approach. And sometimes we've set a goal, like have X amount of events a year. And we talked about this. I wanted to do an event before, and I ended up doing smaller events at other places instead of my own, because of the simple fact that my real goal wasn't to hold an event. It was to help people, or maybe for you, maybe it was networking, which...
Yeah, for me, it was connections. Helping people create connections. Yeah.
Very cool.
And it's funny, it's a goal, like you said, coming in touch with what your reason was. I am a huge believer in collaboration. That's something I think has contributed to our success today. And
so you're still doing the networking, which I love. There's one thing I wanted to ask you too. You run a very successful sports organization. Did you play a lot of sports in high school?
I like this question. So my parents were great. They diversely made me get involved in many things. Tennis, basketball are the two that come to mind, softball, other stuff. But it was not athletic. They put me in my first basketball game. They put me on a JV team, and I always grew up in super small Christian school. So as a context for this, but they put me on the JV team. So I was at least a foot taller than everyone. It was terrible. Like, I'm pretty sure I was on the wrong side of the court at some point in the game several times. And so I was like, not good, but I've always loved football. And I was never really allowed to play football on a team. I would play it sometimes at school, but I always loved football, and I could always catch, and I can run. So
I can
that's all you need for football.
Definitely can catch the football.
Now I'm good.
No, I was serious.
But when I was in high school, not so much.
Very cool. Very cool. So the reason I guess I asked that question is because to build something so big, it's not like you have to be the all-star football player at your high school necessarily.
Yeah.
You just have to have a passion for it.
Right.
And where I'm going to that too is, what is your reason for wanting to continue to grow? I mean, you guys are not stopping. You are constantly growing. So what do you think drives you to keep building this as you guys have done so far?
I love people. Like, I have my moments where I'm like, don't talk to me. And during my days, I'm kind of solo, like a lot. But I don't know. I just love people, and I love seeing people happy. I think happiness is something that's not overrated, and it's good to always peek. Even now, I still check in, and I'm like, is there an area of my life that I'm not happy in? And just know it's possible to be happy.
Is there any time where maybe you weren't so happy and you guys thought maybe this wasn't for you?
All the time. There are some really hard moments.
Anyone in particular that stands out that...
Have there been moments that I am like, I'll use the word depressed in air quotes? Totally. one example is when I was let go of my job originally. In my mind, I'm like, that's all I want is to, go full time. I complained to Sam for at least a year of like, I don't want to go to work. It's super stressful doing a lot of stuff, traveling all the time. And then when I was let go, I sat on my couch for at least a week just because it was so weird to have to go from being like so packed all the time, doing beach city sports on the weekends, traveling, running, being responsible for all of the sales for a company that like affects a lot of people. And then to go from that to having my calendar be like, I have time, like, you could do anything you want with your time. Yeah. There was definitely
So after a week, what happened? Like, how'd you get off the couch?
Well, I remember going to networking events, just keeping myself busy. I also had to learn that you will fill up your time, and you have to learn how to be careful with what you're filling up your time. Like it's kind of like finances. You have to tell your time or your money where to go, and otherwise it's going to go somewhere. How did I get off the couch?
Like, just what motivated you? What was something that's like a switch in your head that said, you know what? I'm going to go do this and I'm going to kick some ass at it.
Yeah, I think gratefulness is the answer. So we all have an internal dialogue, and you can change your thinking and the way your brain works by switching it to pay attention to something else. So I remember there was a couple of weeks where I think I got this off of an Instagram picture I saw somewhere. I should find it. I'm going to repost it on my Instagram. And it was just like, change your brain by every time you feel down or anything, that's to think of 3 things that you're grateful for. And it just like switches something in your brain. That was a very applicable, easy one that I still do because, everybody has shit going on in their life, whether you talk about it or not. And you don't have to put your energy towards that. You can put your energy towards the good things and the things that you're grateful for. And again, it goes back to you attract that kind of energy to yourself. So if you can switch going from poor me, I hate this person, this so-and-so wronged me, if you can switch your brain from that to, I'm really grateful that my family is healthy, and I'm really grateful that I have this body that's amazing that can do, what I ask it to do. And I have food on the table. And if you change your perspective, I think that just changes a lot.
I talk about that all the time as well. And I completely agree with you. You're just shifting your focus and forcing yourself to do it at first. Sometimes this doesn't feel comfortable, but forcing yourself to do it. And I love that you say you continue to do it to this day, because really it's a habit, or it's something you have to train yourself. It's not going to come easy. The easy thing is to complain.
Right.
The hard thing is to actually find something to be grateful for when it feels like there's nothing else there. But the truth is, in this day and age where, unless you're literally fighting for your life, you are above most people in the world, and you are able to find something to be grateful for. I just absolutely love that. And I'd love to know, what is your definition of success?
Well, I would just add to that, and maybe this will answer the question, is even the people that we put on a pedestal of they're successful, they still have problems. I mean, I know people who are very successful, who have these huge mansions, who have beautiful families, all these gorgeous girls, and they are dealing with shit. A lot of it's way bigger shit than mine is. So that doesn't go away.
So I love that, because I'm a big believer in it too, just consistently training yourself. So how do you define success? I know we talked a lot about happiness and gratitude, but what would you define success as for you?
Well, it's funny because part of me doesn't think I'm successful. But again, we all have an internal dialogue and tend to be our worst critics. I guess success to me, I mean, if you're just happy and that doesn't mean you're smiling all the time or you love life all the time. I don't know. It's not a contentness. It's not complaining. Like if you're complaining all the time, I wouldn't categorize you as successful. Money helps, but that doesn't mean you're successful. There are lots of people with money who hate their life.
One thing, Brooke, that I always admire about you is you have this incredible energy about yourself. And you walk into a room and, everybody can feel it. And, life's a journey. And I don't know if this is your answer, but I know that for me, I've really struggled with finding fulfillment in that journey. And sometimes that, I don't know, that's maybe just what I interpret from you, but you seem to walk with purpose a lot. You really seem to be like you're on the path, and even if that path you have no idea what it is, sometimes you're there and you're present, and your energy just says, I view you as very successful. And sometimes I know we can be our worst critics, and you have a different level of success, but
I don't know that we ever make it.
Well,
I don't know. Like, you do have to learn how to be present, and I don't know where I learned that from. You do have to be present. I don't know.
I think you're right. I mean, the minute you accomplish something, you probably want something bigger. And I think that the better we become as people, as human beings, the more we become, the more we're able to do, right? So we can accomplish more, but also the more we're able to give. And that's really what I've escalated to. If in the first early years of my life, I was all about achieving. And talking with people like you, though, I mean, you've created side projects and passions where you put hours a week to the side of your own work.
I really want to contribute, I would say, is more than achieve.
Right, because you've done that, and you built things that you did it for free just to help people connect and network. I mean, you've done a lot of stuff just as contribution, which I find personally is so rewarding.
Yeah, it pays off in a different way.
A completely different way.
Yeah,
absolutely. So maybe that's
a couple weeks ago we had a day. Well, what you were just saying, Sam and I went into our marriage, and I remember we just agreed on the phrase "to be content but never satisfied," which has been something that I think has helped us. But yeah, we had a day about a month ago that I told Sam we can retire now, because we had the same day a couple had their baby that they had met playing beach city sports, and the same day another couple proposed out on the football field, and they had met playing beach city sports. I was like, okay, we're done.
That's beautiful. Like, I think I saw you post about that, or somebody.
It was like the best day. Yeah.
And that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I wanted to go over a few things, just kind of maybe a quicker round of questions, if you're okay with that. So,
okay.
What would you say are some of the three biggest mistakes, young or new entrepreneurs as they're jumping into business? I mean, we were talking about this earlier. I made a ton of mistakes, and we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
But what are the three biggest ones that you want to try and avoid? Or, even if you do make them, what do you do to just overcome them?
Yeah. I have made lots of mistakes, and I was trying to think specifically through what they could be for this. And you just don't dwell on them. Like, I had trouble thinking of them, but there's a million. One thing I would say is not to take shortcuts. One thing that I have made a mistake from before on social media specifically is don't take shortcuts. Don't buy followers. Fiverr.com is a cool website, but you can buy likes for $5. It's, you know what I mean? So that's like a specific one. Just don't take shortcuts. In the long run, you pay to boost things. And when you take shortcuts, you're now throwing money away for the rest of your existence online. But whether it's YouTube views or Instagram or followers, that's one specifically, but there's a million ways you can make shortcuts. I think you just have to remember, picture yourself a few years later when you have the following or the income or whatever it is that you think your goals are, and act as if that already is there. Be patient and don't freak out in the beginning thinking, I'm going to look stupid. I only have X followers or whatever. Do you know? I
totally understand
I'm describing
what you're saying.
it well. Yeah. Don't take shortcuts.
Don't take shortcuts, especially, you want to do it right, even if you're doing it small and not very fast in the beginning.
When you're consistent and you have patience and you get to that end level, you want to look back at how you did it and know you did it with integrity, because that pays off.
Yeah. Actually, two things about that. One, you said you don't really dwell on your failures a lot. And I think that's some people can learn that early at a young age, but some of us don't. And we kind of focus and hone in on those failures. And if you're so focused on that, you miss out on all the success you have or the opportunity that you might have. So I think
learn from your failures. I've done many things too many times where in hindsight, I'm like, I should have learned that the first time I threw that event. So learn from your failures, but yeah, you don't have to beat yourself up or dwell on them.
That's even better, right? Because I'm constantly, if I fail, I look at it as an opportunity to learn or an opportunity to get something else, or good, maybe I could shift my focus to something that's more important. So that's a really good life lesson for a lot of people. Yeah,
you can look at it and see what can I be responsible for is a good way of looking at it as well.
Yeah, I like that. The other thing about shortcuts is I heard this, I can't remember where I heard it from, but it stuck with me. It was slow is smooth, smooth is fast, right? So if you ever see somebody who takes shortcuts, right? If you're trying to build a house and you take shortcuts and all of a sudden you build it very quickly, but you forgot to put a bunch of screws in the house or whatever, you didn't nail everything together, wind blows and all of a sudden the whole house falls down, right? So it's it's not good and it's not fast. But if you do it slow and you do it smoothly and consistently the right way, then you'll over time be very consistent. And so it'll appear that you've done stuff so fast in a way. So it's like slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Yeah.
And just kind of getting that consistency, because too many times we end up spending so much time correcting our mistakes. I mean, I know this just in the marketing world. I mean, I spent so much time trying to build websites. I should have done it one way the first time and I didn't. And I end up spending 2 or 3 times the amount of time the second time around to correct it. And so the fast way wasn't fast at all. It ended up taking 2 or 3 times longer. So that's why I like slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Yeah. And you've got time. I mean, I don't care especially if you're in your 20s, but I don't care if you're in your 40s or 50s or 60s, you have time. You just have time. I don't know. Keep your perspective in mind, and that's where the patience comes in.
Absolutely.
So don't take shortcuts.
So you have quite a journey. You've started quite a few different organizations, companies, and you've grown quickly. If someone was just starting out, or maybe what you might say to yourself 5-10 years ago, what are some actions? We talked about a little bit the 80-20 rule, which, I believe that the 80-20 rule is basically statistics, but 80% of our results come from 20% of our actions. We just have to make sure we take the right action. What would be a couple actions that you would suggest taking that really got you the furthest ahead, maybe the fastest? Doing it the right way, of course.
I mean, I don't want to speak specifically to people's lives, but I can say that you can make money doing anything. It really pays off to pick something that you're passionate about and that you know about yourself that you just love, because you're going to have that natural drive that you need on the really shitty days. I mean, being an entrepreneur sounds really cool right now, but it is not easy. More entrepreneurs fail than make it by a long shot. I don't know the statistics. But it's not easy, and that's not something a lot of people talk about. And I think you just have to know yourself and know if you're somebody who can handle those pressures that come with it. I mean, I was lucky that I had a partner who could handle the pressures, and I could go off and be the social butterfly, and he could be like, okay, well, these are the important things that we're going to be doing, and filing our taxes and doing the business licenses correctly and such. So I don't know. It just comes down. You just have to know yourself, try lots of things, and
you mentioned this.
Keep your commitments.
Yeah, absolutely. I know your partner happens to be your partner in business is your partner in life.
Yeah.
And he's an amazing person as well.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing though, is that when we choose a partner, not a partner in life, but a partner in business, we need people, to build a business that of your size wasn't built by one single person, and you guys together were a team. And I think that having somebody in your life, whether it's in your personal life or your business life, to support you when maybe you're struggling to keep pushing, to stay inspired, to keep, because there's going to be those tough times. There's going to be the struggles. To have somebody to help support you up, that's a really amazing thing to find. And it's hard to find. I mean, you guys are definitely unique in that. You're absolutely right. Most businesses do fail. Most partnerships fail. I think the statistics for business actually like 50% fail in the first year or two. By 5 years, it's 80%. So you've been in business for over 5 years. You're one of the 20%, or probably even one of the 10% that are actually going to succeed long term. And I look at that and I see, you had a great partner, somebody who was there to support you.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, there it comes down to who you surround yourself again with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's another action that I've been hearing a common theme for some of these interviews. People are absolutely saying the people I surround myself help me.
It's so important. I mean, that's why networking and connections make such a big difference, is because if you don't have good people in your life, fucking do something about it. I mean, I just remember a moment when I had first moved to California. I had a literally small handful of friends. I was dating someone that I met in college, and I had a super moment of clarity that I looked around and I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, why am I surrounding myself with these people? I was not sober for that moment of clarity, but it was such a defining moment that the next day I broke up with him. I started making these huge shifts. I remember thinking to myself, like, okay, where can I go to meet people and find new friends? There weren't really people my age at work. I was always the youngest person in my industry. I remember thinking through, well, I know this person, maybe I could meet their friends, and like trying to go that way. And I just remember the day that I was living in a friend's RV and I went on Craigslist and I was like, I probably looked up activity partners or something. And that's when I found a meetup get-together group that Miss Nicole Bolter had organized, and Mike Knox of coed flag football out on the beach.
Absolutely.
And I was coming back from a work trip in San Fran that weekend. I like made my flight earlier so that I could make this free get-together of two-hand touch football. And I'm so grateful that was the day that I met Nicole and Sam.
Wow.
The rest of everything. But yeah, there was definitely like being intentional with surround yourself with good people. Like, if they're not in your life, go find them. There's a million people in Southern California.
I knew you met Sam, your husband, through Nicole in a way, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was that the story of events was so close together, really, where you literally made the decision to change everything, and then you went looking for people. And I think that's a good thing to talk about, as well as just not just how important that you surround yourself, but if you don't have the people in your life, go find them. I love that. Just go to a meetup group, go to a networking event, go find like-minded individuals. And that's just an incredible example, because you never know who you're going to meet. Same thing for me. I kind of met my girlfriend at an event. And I would never have met her had it not been for me going to that event. And it's just amazing the connections and the relationships you can make there when you're surrounded by like-minded individuals. Right.
And again, that goes with, being selective and learning how to say no. Like I said, there are a million people, Southern California. Those people are there. It's possible to go find new groups of people. I think that's one thing that just drives me is, like we said, make connections, but creating environments for people to come to surround themselves with good people.
Absolutely. Okay. So, the interesting question is just how it is to have a business with not just a business partner, but your personal life partner, your husband, Sam, and how that affects you guys, maybe in your relationship and maybe in your business relationship. Do you guys separate the two, or how do you guys manage that?
We're always figuring out how to balance that. It's definitely brought on arguments, and we've probably argued more about work stuff than anything else. And I don't know that there's an answer for that. It's different for every person, but just maybe getting to know each other's communication styles, what time of day each person operates in. I'm super a morning person. He's super not. We'll go through during the summer, we have events, 1 to 3 events every night of the week, basically. So we end up talking about work at night, but typically we set like a 5:00 no work after this. Obviously, no work talk in the shower. You gotta set your own boundaries. You'd be surprised. It used to be like you just like have something that you like need to talk about. So you just gotta set your own boundaries.
Yes. Yeah. I guess sometimes my greatest thoughts are in the shower, and I'm like, oh, we gotta talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. Not now, honey. So I don't know. I know a few business owners who are, this is cool, I'm going to do this. So I know a few business owners who are couples, and I've always wanted to get us all together for a dinner. When I was building Beach City Networking, that was one branch, was couples in business. So I'm going to make a goal, set that up.
What happens if you're like, I really don't want to do that aspect of the business or that branch of the business? I mean, you don't just have one sports league, you have several sports leagues, several different sports, you have networking, you've got events. I mean, you talk about, you've thrown, New Year's Eve parties for 6 years, and that's a lot to take on individually. And what if Sam says, hey, I don't want to do that? Or, you say, hey, I don't want to do that. How do you guys negotiate being business partners and life partners, right? I really need you.
So most of the social events Sam attends, but he doesn't get involved in the planning. That was probably me just creating a side hustle from Beach City Sports, maybe. It's just going to be different for everybody. I mean, we are so far from perfect. Ideally, you want to always take a fresh look, whether it's once a year or more often, I don't know, at who's doing what. Is this what we're best at? Obviously, you're not going to enjoy everything you're doing. We both have roles that we don't like. That's just part of life. I don't know. And again, it's just communication. And to me, it's just, I don't know, for me, it's an importance of, I really want Sam to be happy with what he's doing. He's obviously hustled a lot longer than I have. And just as far as other jobs and coming from Chicago. And so, yeah, I don't know. I want him to be happy, just checking in with each other, communicating.
So checking in almost on a daily or weekly basis.
You want to both support each other.
Yeah. And then also, I like what you said too about kind of reevaluating once a year, probably more ideally, maybe every quarter or something, every 3 months for me, I would think, to make sure that we're in line with what we want, with our goals, making sure we're doing what we're best suited for.
Right.
And then sometimes we just got to suck it up and do it anyways.
Yeah. I never want our wanting to keep personal and business separate from, I don't ever want that to stop our company from growing and impacting more people. Our business is so associated with our life. We'll still be doing a lot of it, but this is probably our time that we need to check in with each other and set some goals and make sure that we're both breaking up the things that we're best at. And I would also just add to that really fast is also knowing the other person's love language, maybe you'd want to call it, because with working together with couples, there is a different, men and women just look at the world differently. We speak different languages. I've not figured it completely out yet, but maybe just a quick personal story would be, I remember the first couple of years throwing these end of season parties at the end of every season. And of course, I know that Sam appreciates me and loves me, but he would never thank me or give me a shout out at our end of season parties. And it bothered the shit out of me. And I don't even know if I told him, how's he supposed to know this? I'm pretty sure I would complain about it to closest girlfriends, but it's just, and we've gotten past that now, but it was a difference of me not communicating that to him having no idea. And you just want to make sure that you're just checking in with the other person and making sure. Something? I don't even remember how that went down, but
it was a huge
someone
argument.
must have told him, because one end of season party, I got to thank you. And I was like, okay, we're good now. But yeah, it's just communication. Like I said, we're in any area of life. I'm not going to throw stones from a glass house. I'm not perfect pretty much in any area.
I don't think any of us
check in with people.
Are perfect, but we're always striving to be better,
Yeah. Especially fun when you start to see the fruit of your labor, which is why I keep saying the word patience, because it does pay off.
some people think they can do everything in 3 months or a year. I definitely, I want to do that all the time, but I realize that a lot of my greatest success have come from 10 or 15 years of actually working really hard.
Yeah.
And I just don't stop. I just keep going. So it is patience a lot. I'm realizing through this conversation just how much organization you guys have, how many events and leagues and sports and networking events and social events. How in the world do you stay so organized?
Well, I have 2 big computer screens only within the last year, and I'm hooked. I don't know how I operated before without them. I have it's called a New Year calendar. It's 6 foot on my wall, and the way it organizes the months so they're not separated is like awesome.
It's a 6 foot calendar?
Yeah, it's called New Year. I think it's spelled NEU year. It might be NUE year. And it's just the format of it is great. I'm on my 3rd or 4th year using it, and I love it. I obviously very rarely go anywhere without my action day planner, which is, I love the format of it. I think this is my 4th year using that, and I just like it.
So you physically write down everything? I mean, do you do anything digital?
So the cool thing about this is the beginning 4 or 5 pages, you kind of sit down and it explains how it's broken out. But have you ever heard the parable or whatever it's called about putting rocks, sand, and water in a glass?
Yes.
And you want to put your big projects in first. So that's how this day planner is organized. So it has like your rocks, your sand, your water, whatever. So you like categorize what you need to be done as that.
I think both of those are really great resources. I think we can put it in the show notes afterwards.
Put some links in.
So people can definitely get some, because, as I take on more and more projects, I organize in a way like that, but I always have trouble staying completely
You can get
organized.
a smaller New Year calendar, by the way. It doesn't have to be 6 foot. But
I want the 6 foot one.
It's good. And just this year I started a stand-up desk, which I'm not confident I love, but it's just a different lifestyle to be like standing all the time. So that I think my in-between is I need to have a standing, and then when I'm sitting by a ball, because it's tiring to stand the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Even though, anyway, so you just, always adjusting. But those are probably the 2 things that help me stay most organized. That and Google Docs is good.
I love it. Yes, definitely use the Google Docs. Great, Brooke. So if there's one thing, are you excited about in the future? Anything going on for you guys that we should look forward to? I know you've got the lifestyles and passions of the BCS family on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited to catch the first couple episodes of that. Anything else going on for you?
Well, for that, we've committed to 10 episodes with the purpose just being, I'm so blessed to be able to see so many cool people, hustlers, parents, business owners within the BCS family. That's what we call the BCS family. Means anyone who's ever played in Beach City sports, whether it was for seasons and then left to go on to another phase of life, or whether they just subbed one time. We want to include all of them. But there's so many cool people, yourself included, have built this dental practice, and I don't even know what else, that I want to take the opportunity to highlight those people. So Isaac and I have committed to doing 10 together for both of us. But I want this to continue, whether it's people in the BCS family submitting their own video to us, or I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. But yeah, that's something we're doing. And what was your question? I forgot it.
I just was wondering what else is going on with you in the future. That sounds really exciting, though.
Yeah. We're always keeping an eye out for new sports, new cities, how to expand our mission of being the gateway to social life. I prefer to show people than to tell people for that.
Great. Brooke, is there anything else
love it.
that you'd like to add to this amazing conversation we've had today? I've learned a lot, and it's been very helpful.
Thank you. I don't know. I would just like to be an example of a possibility that you can create your life and you can do something you're passionate about. You can make money doing it. And your environment is important. Who you surround yourself with is important. And regardless of what your environment or your resources are, the the ingredient that is the most important that you have full control over is your actions, your perspective, your actions, and the amount of hustle that you put into it.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming on today. I definitely will include all these links and everything. And if anybody wants to follow Beach City Sports, or follow you on Facebook.
We're at Beach City Sports on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Instagram stories, YouTube, Twitter.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
I love it. Awesome. So that's Beach City Sports, Facebook. And then you, for your personal, do you want to?
And for me personally, I'm Facebook, Brooke J. Period.
J. Period.
I used to have a pseudonym until this year. And I'm like, why am I hiding? Like, I just need to be me. So I changed it over. So Facebook.com/Brooke J page. And Instagram just made my account public like a week ago. It's _Brookie Monster, but I should probably change that now that it's public. It should probably just be Brooke J also.
Oh, well.
So how about I'll just give you the links?
Well, I'll take the links
when this is ready to go, and we'll.
That's perfect. Perfect.
See, we're figuring it out as we go.
I love it, and that's
Don't
part of the
wait to be
process.
perfect.
Exactly, and that's definitely something we can all learn from, and just getting started and doing it and putting ourselves out there.
Yeah.
Brooke, thank you so much for joining us.
Love you guys. This was fun.
You too. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you guys enjoyed the show and learned something of value, the one ask that we have is please go subscribe. If you'd like to leave us a 5-star rating and review, that definitely helps us get our message out there. Because each week I'm going to interview amazing people, and I want to be able to give you more and more tools and strategies that get you real results. Feel free to connect with me on Facebook or Instagram at Corey Corpodian, or just visit the website at unleashsuccess.com. Remember, knowing is not enough. Knowledge alone is not power. Action is. Because action is the only way to get the results you want in life and truly live the life of your dreams. So go take some action. Subscribe to the podcast and get ready to unleash success in you.